Hey everyone, and welcome to this TolaData case study webinar. I can see we already have some people joining, so I'll just leave another minute before we get started for any additional audience members. We've got a really exciting webinar for you all today, so we're looking forward to taking you through. Okay, great. I can see we're gaining more and more people. And so perhaps we can slowly get started as more people join. So thank you so much everyone for the interest and for taking the time today to join this webinar and join us in learning a little bit more about the GIZ RYE project. We've got a super exciting lineup today with a lot of expertise and knowledge. So hopefully you'll leave feeling very inspired by today's discussion. Perhaps as a small introduction, I am Aoife Dorn. I will be hosting this webinar today. I'm a digital consultant here at TolaData, and I've been working with Tola for 4.5 years. So very much looking forward to bringing you through the webinar today. For those that don't know, the webinar is actually built off of a case study that TolaData put together. This case study explores the GIZ Rural Youth Employment Project, specifically focusing on the digital monitoring of the 360 agri-jobs project in Sub-Saharan Africa. So if anything we touch on today with the GIZ RYE team interests you, you can feel free to go and have a look at the case study, which is on our website. And that is linked below in the banner. So I invite you to head over there after this webinar if you've not already checked out the case study. So moving on from that, today we are joined by a really exciting team of international development professionals. So I'll introduce them to the stage one at a time. To begin, we have Frank Bertelmann, the RYE project director. We then have Lukas Marx, the RYE project and M&E advisor. We have Inacio Muthetho, the RYE provincial coordinator. And we have Armando Tselo, the RYE Mozambique M&E advisor. So to start our webinar, I would just like to say thank you so much for taking the time to come and talk with us today, sharing your expertise and knowledge of the field in what I hope will be a super exciting and inspirational discussion. So thank you all for joining.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, pleasure.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks, Inacio. Great. So with that in mind, I guess we can move on and start with our questions and make the use of our time the most. I would also like to just tell the audience that as we go, feel free to record any questions that you might have, because at the end of this webinar, you'll have the opportunity to ask the GIZ RYE team representatives any questions that might have come up for you during the webinar. So be sure to keep track. So I guess to start our webinar, it would be really helpful to know a little bit about the GIZ RYE project. And for this, I'm going to hand over to Frank, who perhaps can give us a brief summary of the project and the project objectives, as well as maybe the 360 agri-jobs approach that this project follows. So Frank, I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, and thanks for having us. Just to give a little bit of a background on our global project. So you can see here we are working in 4 countries. It's like a $40 million project for a time frame of 5 years, and our main objective is to really create new and better jobs for rural youth, mainly in the agri-food sector. And yeah, we are working in those countries, and in some countries, for example, Kenya, we are joining with another project which follows a slightly different logic, but we implement this as a joint initiative. And the same in Malawi, where we have a co-financing from the Norwegian embassy. and have two donors whom we also have to report. So that adds a little bit of complexity, especially also for the monitoring and reporting. And yeah, just to explain a little bit on what we do and why this is innovative, maybe we can jump to the next slide. So the main relevance, I think, I really like this figure of 25 million young people coming to the labor market every year in Africa alone. So I think this is highly relevant to create productive employment and income opportunities. And we try to do so really starting addressing the needs of young people in rural areas, which are often not so well qualified, maybe with primary or some years of secondary school, and try to teach them the right skills, both technical, but also business skills, soft skills, digital, financial literacy, etc., but also to provide job opportunities, self-employment, wage employment along the value chain, also in the service sector and processing and inputs. So it's all across and along the value chains. And we really try to bring together the supply side of labor with the demand side of labor and try to match them, that the right skills also meet the right jobs. And therefore, it's important to have a local ecosystem working and to also have strong youth organizations, because it's much easier if they are a bit organized, not to deal with them, also to promote their interests in both policy and advocacy, but also in doing business together. So this is a crucial element in our project. And yeah, we call it the integrated approach, not to really bring in together supply and demand and what is necessary to have this 360 all over focus and a view really on the needs of young people. And I think that's what makes us special. And yeah, I think maybe so far from my side for the introduction.
Thank you so much for that, Frank. You did a great job. It's a lot to summarize in a really short amount of time. And I think that leads us really nicely into our next question, because of course this webinar is focused towards that digital monitoring process of the GIZ RYE project. So perhaps to speak a little bit about that, I can hand over to Lukas, and maybe you can walk us through the process of digitizing the monitoring system for the GIZ RYE project.
Yeah, I can do that. I mean, before digitizing, I wanted to say you need to do your analysis.
Lukas, I think you mute. I can't hear you.
I'm still muted.
Okay.
I'm not sure what happened.
Now can hear you.
Okay. So to start with, before you digitize, I think it's very important to do your analog homework.
Oh, we lost you again, Lukas.
Yeah, if that keeps on logging in and logging out, I'm not sure what's going on. Let me try one other thing then.
Thank you, Lukas. There wouldn't be a webinar without a technical issue or two. We still can't hear you. Let's give it 1 second, and then maybe we can pass the question on. Oh, now you're on mute, Lukas. I'm gonna mute you.
Hello?
Yes.
We can hear you.
So I don't hear you now, but you can hear me. Maybe that is at least one thing we can start with. Sorry for that. Not sure what is happening to the microphone and the speaker and everything. So what I started with was, before you digitize a monitoring system, what you need to do some analog homework, because digital tools are only supporting you and your monitoring efforts. You need meaningful indicators, measurable indicators. You need to know how you will measure them, who you want, what you need as information, who to report it to, and who is doing all that work. And gladly we have Armando, for example, here, who is doing a lot of this work with the colleagues. And then when you know that, and when we knew that, we were looking about how can digital tools and which digital tools will support us to do it more efficiently. and with more accuracy maybe. And what we wanted to create really is a digital solution from the field to the dashboard. So starting with the data collection somewhere up north in Mozambique, remote area, to then Frank and me based in Germany looking at the results in a nice visualized way. And so we are not only using TolaData as digital tool, we are also using Kobo Toolbox and for data collection. But then to organize all this collected data, it comes into TolaData into place, and also to visualize a lot of it. Gladly, TolaData has had these solutions. So that are the main two tools I think we use. Every now and then we use maybe some spark of something else, but of course, excellent statistical programs sometimes also. That's then I think the main steps that we took. I hope I hear now your question, Eva.
No problem, because we can move on from there. Thank you so much for cooperating despite the technical issues. I think that's a really good overview, and that integrated approach and ability to use different tools and different platforms to collect all this data and to get this overview and the ability to aggregate it is something that we see with many of the clients that we work with. And I think the great thing about, I'm going to quickly remove Lukas from the stage while he fixes his mic. But I think one of the beauties of this discussion we're having today is we get to see so many different parts of the project life cycle with you all here. So now, in understanding that you needed a tool that had the ability to integrate with data collection tools, the ability to aggregate across these different projects into a global level, I would love to hand over to Armando, who could maybe walk us through the kind of the ground level of the data cycle. So Armando, maybe you could describe that data collection process from the beginning, maybe giving us a reference to a project to help explain it.
Oh, thank you, Aoife. I'm going to describe a little bit more what we are doing here in Mozambique. So let me contextualize in terms of RYE in Mozambique. So here we are working, we are promoting employment in rural areas focused on youths. So here for the country package, we have three main outcomes, which one is employment. We are promoting new or additional employment to the youths. The second one is the income increase, where we intend to increase income for the beneficiaries in 20% on average. And the third one is employment prospect. So to achieve these all results, we have more than 20 activities, more than 20 partners. So with small activities that we have. In terms of data life cycle, I will say that all the partnership from the beginning, we start developing a questionnaire on a Kobo Toolbox. So here we have focused on the respective value chain because we have different projects such as a poultry project, honey project, we have eggs production project. So we develop different questionnaire and we integrate it to Kobo Toolbox. The second step is to train our focal point in each partnership on the whole process of data collection on the field. And after the training, we follow up the process of collection of database. So we have a baseline data collection at the beginning of any intervention. We have the second round of data collection to monitor how the trainings are going in the field. And 3 or 6 months after the trainings, we trace our beneficiaries in order to get information of employment, income, and employment prospect. This is what we do as a cycle on our project. I will give an example in partnership that we have with Matari Empreendimento, which is a lead firm based in Nampula. So here in this partnership, we are producing moringa, beans, and honey. So our target group, females, around 100 beneficiaries, they are working on in-grower scheme. So at the beginning of any intervention, the lead firm select the beneficiaries and we provide technical assistance on the baseline data collection. We assist them on that. They train the beneficiaries, they collect the data, and they provide all the data to us. This is the first example that I can give on one of the partnerships that we have. Over to you, Ifa.
Thank you so much for that, Armando. That was a really great explanation. And I think having an example really helps to narrate that. I'm just wondering, there's so many moving parts to this. Have you encountered any challenges during the data collection process in relation to this digitization with the likes of Kobo Toolbox and into TolaData?
Ifa, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Oh. I think we might have lost Armando, perhaps. Let's give him 1 second to see if he can reestablish his connection. Oh, okay. Hi, Armando. We've got you back.
Oh.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I'm back. Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. I was wondering if you had any challenges with this digitization process.
Yes, the process of digitizing is not an easy task. So we are working with a TVET, a small one, lead firms without financial robustness. And the very first major difficulty that we found is related of this lack of financial resource to purchase, for example, tablets to data collect. Without tablets, we can't collect any data. And as we are working in the rural context, there are no electricity, and there are no people qualified on digital literacy, on the usage of smartphones, and the facility is not, it's such basic, and it's not secure to store a digital material. So this is kind of difficult that we are facing on the ground.
Yeah, they sound like some really tangible problems, Armando. I'm wondering, how do you address them as a team?
So first of all, we have not enough budget also. So we purchase some tablets to ensure this data collection process whenever needed, and we try to train all the focal point, the technician belonging for the lead firm that we have these partnerships, and in some case we hire a numerator to support or to conduct a survey on the ground. So this is some examples that we have here to overcome these challenges.
Brilliant. And I guess after overcoming these challenges, do you see any real benefits then? And maybe you could share some of the benefits of going through these challenges with digitalization. Oh, can you hear us, Armando?
Yes, this is the wonderful part. The benefit that we have, as I mentioned before, here in Mozambique, we are working in 3 different provinces, and can you hear? Okay. Yes, I was saying that in Mozambique, we are working in 3 different provinces. And myself, I'm based in Maputo. And for instance, Inacio is based in Sofala, and we have another team in Nampula. So in terms of distance, Maputo to Sofala is over 1,000 kilometers, and Maputo Nampula is over 3,000 kilometers. So it could not be easy to travel very often to collect data whenever needed. So this is the very first benefit, the cost efficiency, and we can collect data in remote area without without network, because Kobo Toolbox allow us to work in a very remote areas without a network. And I can also support my colleagues remotely on developing the questionnaire and testing them. So these are the benefits that we have.
Thank you, Armando, for so honestly sharing the challenges and the benefits of this digital process. I guess now that the data collection aspect is clearer for all of us and we understand the use of Kobo Toolbox in collecting that data, maybe you can move us up the data aggregation chain and perhaps explain how data from like a single intervention is aggregated into these larger country packages and indicators. I think there's a small bit of delay on Armando's side. Can you hear us, Armando? Oh, shoot. Well, things happen in threes, so hopefully this is the last tech issue that we have today. And perhaps proof of an issue with digitization, internet connection.
And remote areas. You know that
And remote
not
areas.
in Muthetho today. I'm not sure where he is in Inacio, but somewhere down.
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, Armando.
The internet connection is not stable. Sorry for that.
No problem. We're just glad to have you here.
Okay. Come again with the question, please.
Yes, no problem. I was wondering if you'll be able to speak a little bit about after the data collection process. Maybe you can explain the data aggregation chain and how data is taken from that single intervention and aggregated up into the country package indicators.
Okay, thank you. The scope of the project is about 3 main outcomes I mentioned before, and we have 4 main outputs. So these all 20 plus, so more than 20 partnerships that we have, they are contributing to the very same indicators. So in this case, we are using TolaData to aggregate all the data that we are receiving from the ground. And on the TolaData, we have the project portfolio with all indicators for the country package. I can address each indicator on the each place, the correct place. And I design also the dashboards to allow the data visualizations. And here we have the component leaders for each output. And they have also this possibility to steer the project indicators. And sometimes they complain when the data
Oh no, Armando's going through it with internet connectivity today. Okay. Well, maybe we're just going to have to move on there. Thanks for bearing with us, everyone, and these internet issues. It should be mentioned that Armando's out on the field at the moment, so maybe to be a little bit more expected. But Armando did really briefly there mention steering, and I think this is a huge part of the process. And perhaps in mentioning that, we can turn over to you, Inacio, and ask, in understanding the digitalization process, perhaps we could ask you, how does this inform the steering of the project at the country level? Maybe you could also give some insight on this, or any examples you might have, to let us know what project steering looks like when it's informed by this digitized process.
Okay, thank you everyone for being here, and thank you for the opportunity of being here and sharing our experience with the digitalization in our rural youth employment project in Mozambique. Well, just to give a brief contextualization on the steering unit of the project in Mozambique, how does it look like? We have 3 project locations. One where we have our management team leader and the monitoring and evaluation advisor. And we have the second location where I am based, which is Beira, and I play the role of co-leader of the project implementation, looking for project implementation into sites of implementation. So you can imagine having a team spread wide in different locations, working under the same project, and us as leaders, we have to be aware about what is going on everywhere, and also follow up on the project implementation activities. So, but with this tool, the things become, let's say, a little bit easier, because we have the process which is already in place, and Armando explained it on the technical side. How does it work? So in our case, for example, on my side, every time I go to Tola to have information of with different objectives. Sometimes I go there to monitor how are we progressing in terms of project implementation. And there, in the monitoring, mainly I look at 3 aspects. The first one, I look at the activities which we have with different partners. Let's imagine we have 20 plus partners around the 2 implementations locations, and we need information about all the activities which are going on in these places. So I go there, I want to see how are we progressing in terms of activities implementation, and also from the information which comes up in Tola about project implementation, different activities with each partner. I'm also able to do the double check. In my cases, at the same time, I'm a leader of one component and I'm aware about everything which is going in my component. So when I go there, first I want to see if that activity which we have been doing in the field, it's already there in Tola or not. If it is not, I go back to our M&E advice and find out what's going on. So this is one of the benefit, let's say, I have as part of the management in the process. The second thing, with one click going there, I can also see how are we progressing in terms of our targets reaching. How are we progressing in terms of reaching our targets? And there I can have information from numbers first to see if are we reaching our numbers or not. If not, what's going on? Which reflections do we need to do with the team? And second, I can look also for the disaggregations in gender, in age, because as Armando said before, our project is focused on youth and in rural areas. So the age is another aspect which is important for us. So it's not just having the numbers, but us as leaders, we have to make sure also if the numbers which we are getting from our activities are the right numbers which we need to fulfill our objectives in the project. And from there, I can get that information. Just to give an example and on how it is useful for me as a co-leader in the project implementation. At the very first stage of our project implementation, we had one activity in one of our project sites in partnership with our fellow GIZ project, which we joined efforts to work through training cashew sprayers in Nampula province. And because our projects have different objectives, somehow in the middle of the activity implementation, the colleagues from the other project, they misunderstood our target group. And they did the training, but when the information came back and was uploaded in the platform, when I went there quickly, I would realize that the group which was trained was not exactly our target group. First, because they were all old, they were not youth. And second, we had there all men and not women. And our project have a special focus also on women. And from that situation, we were able to discuss and define strategies to overcome the situations. And from there, we rearranged the training and we did another session with the right group. So this is one of the things which I can mention that in our daily project implementation, we are benefiting from the the platform from the digitalization.
Thank you so much for that, Inacio. That was a really great example. I think for me, the key takeaway from that is it's not just about that final dashboard report with all the numbers. It's the ability to kind of monitor as you go as well and increase the quality of your data, make it more transparent, and also make it accountable. So it was really great that you were able to see that it was the wrong target group so quickly. So thank you for sharing that. I think that's a really useful look at the kind of country level, and perhaps then we can move it up again and bring in you, Lukas, to give us a kind of look at that global project level. For you, how do you experience this digital M&E process to help in managing projects across multiple countries? And maybe here you can also give an example. I think they really help.
Yeah, just imagine now we have got Inacio and Armando here, but I have got fellow colleagues with the same position in 3 other countries who are also implementing 20 plus single activities, and we are all at the next level aggregating it then all together for this whole global project. And need to steer also on this level, see if we are reaching our targets and if we are on track. For example, we also have milestones, sometimes even quarterly, some annually. What do we want to reach in each year to see even 2 years before the project ends if we will manage to reach that. And just yesterday we were sitting down, Frank and myself and another colleague, looking at the dashboard in TolaData, seeing that compared to last year, our outreach this year at the moment, and the year is almost over, is a bit low. And we would have imagined differently. There's another year to come, so possible. And I know from some of the colleagues like Armando that there are things up and running which will be integrated very soon because they will be finished not just now. So it will go up, but still we see that we might be falling short again, and we now can see that take already now measures for this last year of implementation to see how we can make up for it, and also identify them, digging deeper into where is it blocking, which country, which component is a bit lagging and which is maybe even also on a very good track. So Tola gives us the option to really then look down to this very specific country level again to identify really to whom do we need to talk about that and to whom maybe we don't. What would be not possible if it wasn't all in one platform, but like imagine everybody is sending some spreadsheets only or giving some numbers, and when I have a further question, why is that number now on the aggregated level as such, I wouldn't be able to trace it down, but with the platform I am. So that is helping to bring transparency and also helping us to steer then on the global level. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Lukas. Maybe just on that transparency level, maybe you could also kind of talk to us a little bit about how this digital M&E process helps GIZ RYE teams ensure the quality and accuracy of the data that reaches up into this global project level.
So what we see, Armando, Inacio told us about disaggregations. We have some more disaggregations than only age and gender. We are also looking at value chains, etc. And if there's a wage job or a self-employed job, and etc. to streamline all these needs of information and to basically force everybody to really also insert information and collect it. TolaData, of course, helps. And we can quickly identify, okay, for maybe this activity out of 100, there is some information missing, and we can, especially on missing data, identify very quickly where we have a problem and get that information. And then also on timeliness, of course, it's helping a lot to get the timely. Armando said, imagine we go with data collection with paper 3,000 kilometers away, and we need to, or somebody else is going, and then we go back, we bring this, we need to travel with a paper back and then insert it somehow and then somehow send it with an Excel sheet to me and stuff. That is would be a lot of extra effort, which also on timeliness, the information is there more timely also. So more accurate and more timely because we limit it. Yeah.
Thank you, Lucas. Sorry, I hope you can hear me. There's an ambulance going past my window. But on the note of timeliness, and so I know a lot of feedback that TolaData receives from its users is how useful the reporting feature is with our dashboard section, because results update live from indicators into the dashboard. So in terms of timeliness, it's nearly a live update. But keeping that in mind, I'm just wondering, how does TolaData assist you with reporting to donors or to anyone who's going to be viewing these live dashboards?
On the dashboard, we have two sides. You have the donor and the reporting, but also one important mention that Frank just reminded me of was the dashboarding, being able to show also the different levels just next to each other. So the global level, and then compare it to the results for each and every country, and then each and every component or activity helps us a lot to also connect the dots in our theory of change. For example, we saw that our expectation on how much employment for how many people could be created supporting very small micro enterprises was now overshot. I think they create on average double the employment that we would have been imagining at the beginning or expecting. And we can see then these things in comparing our overall number to the disaggregation, to where they come from, to where do these new jobs come from, and all these things are able to be shown and put next to each other on these dashboards, which are quite helpful, really. And then what we see here is a screenshot of a very public dashboard that we don't use internally, but rather publicly, which again explains also a bit more our approach, and then shows our target reach on a very aggregated level that we try to use also for reporting to our ministry. And I saw one question in the comments already on how do we go with resistance to new tools. I think internally it wasn't that difficult because we chose it all together. We had some pitches of some different tools, and we chose that tool because we saw the advantages, and most of the colleagues were keen on using it. Then for reporting, I think the donors are used to get a PDF document, text-written report, and some tables, and still, of course, adapting to maybe also using such kind of online dashboards. But we sparked interest in, for example, our direct contact with the donor, quite interested in that and looking at it as well every now and then. So it also helps there to be accountable and not only have a once a year off report, so to say. They like it a bit, yeah. While it's rather innovative. You need somebody innovative, yeah.
Thank you so much for that, Lucas. I like your mention of internal versus external as well, because of course you can make these dashboards public, but also can do more of your own internal reporting too, which I think is a nice addition.
And I would just add, it's not about hiding pitfalls or something, but our internal look at it is way more complex and technical than somebody who is looking from external on it. So we just have a different information need than somebody public. So that's why there is a differentiation also.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's definitely worth making clear. Great. Well, from that end, we wanted to leave 15 minutes to do some audience questions, and we are just at that mark, which is brilliant. So thanks so much to everyone who's stayed tuned in, despite all of our technical problems. We greatly appreciate it. I've already got some questions, but for those who want to submit a question, you can do so either in the comments of the live stream or through the Mentimeter here, which you'll see on screen. So you can either scan the QR code or go to www.menti.com and type in the code. We already have a couple of questions that come in, so perhaps we can get started on these. The first question that might be of interest to you is, how do you verify data quality and avoid double counting? And I'll just put that forward for whoever wants to take it.
I could say something to double counting. I'm not sure if data quality, it's rather Armando also could say something on that. So double counting is the very first thing that everybody is an M&E issue that is everybody's talking on. And what we say is we have a strategic, we have a strategy in when reaching out to the same persons. Because as Frank said, we have an integrated approach. We look at it from different angles. And if we train people in a chicken, in chicken breeding, and then we work with a big chicken company who would be recruiting some of them, then that would be within our strategy, and we have an eye on that on if there's double counting. So, or if we work with youth groups and then we have a fair somewhere down in the same province, then we know that this youth group is invited to that fair, and we can check on participants list a bit, spot check how many really came, and correct that number of double counting. I think that is within a strategic approach of where interventions are layered, as the colleagues in Kenya say, so where we reach out to the same target group on purpose a lot so that we can avoid double counting. And then we are a micro and meso level project, so we are not on this macro level issues where you might due to the nature of your activities and partnerships, you're reaching out to a big group in all that area, etc., where we need to avoid that we count the same people in the same areas twice. We are quite very individual basis, so we really have a participants list for everything that we can double check a bit.
Thank you so much for that, Lucas. There's another question that's just come in that I think is really interesting and I would love to put forward. Somebody asked, how enthusiastic have local partners been to engage with the digital processes? And do you see a strong interest at this level?
That's definitely for Armando. Or Inacio.
Armando or Inacio, would you like to take this one?
If I didn't hear properly the question.
No problem. Let me read it again. How enthusiastic have local partners been to engage with the digital processes? Do you see strong interest at this level?
Sorry, I'm still struggling here with this internet connection.
No problem, Armando. Maybe I can invite Inacio to...
Yes, I can jump in and move forward with the question. Well, here we still have some challenges coming in, especially because our project is focused on rural areas. So our partners mainly are based in rural areas, and there we still have some challenges, starting from capacity to buy the tools, as Armando was explaining. We need tablets to use for data collection in the fields, and some of our partners are not able buy tablets. We have also challenges related with knowledge. Many of our partners are still far from the technology, from the digitalization reality. They don't even use computers. So for this kind of partners, in fact, it is a challenge. But on the other hand, we have some partners which are more proactive in this topic of digitalization and are more open to collaborate with us in the process of data collection. We have some partners which are using their smartphones to conduct database studies and collect information and send to us through a link which we share with them. So we have different situations here, but it can take us also for another challenge which we have in this topic of digitalization. Let's say internally in GIZ. One is because the Tola need internet to work. So for those partners which are in rural areas without internet access, it's also difficult to integrate them in the process. But the other thing also is the number of users. It's not an open source for everyone to use it. We have a certain number of users, so we're not able to integrate it, all the partners also to use. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to add also, Inacio, it's correct, the choice was also not to create another platform or system that then every partner has to use. Imagine around, I don't know what, 80 partners in all these countries. Some of them have their own tools. Some of them have their own platform structures. I didn't want to say, we are now GIZ, we are bringing some money at you need to use that tool now. If they have functioning tools, that's cool with us. So they can just use their tools, and we can still integrate an export of their tool into TolaData again. So that's also some advantage that we wanted to have here, to not create an own process besides existing ones. That is, everybody needs also to engage in. But if we can, if there is a good tool and they have a good way of collecting information and communicating it, let's do it, and we integrate it into the platform ourselves here. So that is also an advantage, that we can integrate really the data from different sources. We don't need to use Kobo Toolbox. If somebody else uses another tool, fine, use it. We can still integrate it on the platform and have all the data there. And I think I just wanted to say it's cool that my colleague Distin is in the chat very active. He's a Malawian M&E expert, so he's also already answering questions. Thanks, Distin.
Yeah, thank you, Distin. I see you in the chat there as well. It's brilliant. And Lukas, I enjoy a lot what you said about the integration capacity, because I think also the flexibility around using different tools and thinking about how information can be brought up and aggregated into one tool, and getting creative with that gives you so many options with reporting, and really gives a lot of power to it as well. But thank you, Inacio, as well for answering that question. There's another really interesting one here that I'd like to put forward. And it is, we've got quite a lot of questions now, but it's been upvoted. So this one is, For project steering, how quick is your process from data collection to results review and then to take corrective action? So quite a big one, but I'd like to put that forward.
So we are a very big organization
Yeah.
with thick processes sometimes, generally. So taking corrective actions generally needs maybe some more time as if you are a small NGO. So that's also to say beforehand. It still takes a couple of weeks, I would say, until the data is then cleaned and updated and verified by Armando, and then is checked on our end with Inacio. I don't know, Inacio, how often you are looking into it and how often is your frequent, but at the global level, together with you, we have a quarterly routine to look what has been achieved in the last quarter, what's the outlook for the next one, where have been challenges, and then take collaborative actions and discuss at least on a quarterly basis. And maybe then within country that is even more often.
Yes, in country, I would say that is more often. I would say monthly, and also sometimes bi-weekly when we have our regular meetings, depending on the project progress in terms of implementation. Sometimes we have to go there to bring some information to our meeting. So I would say locally, bi-weekly, or monthly.
Brilliant, thank you. I have one more question that I'd love to try squeeze in, and I think it really, there's kind of been 4 other questions that are quite similar to it, and it's about the aggregation aspect, which of course is huge in this project. So somebody asked, is the outputs, activities, and indicators similar among countries? If not, how do you aggregate the results and standardize the data collection? So I know we only have 2 minutes to answer this.
No,
but
that is a quick one. It is they are similar, and we have joint definitions also. Of course, you need a margin of differentiation because mushroom production in Malawi is definitely not the same than mango juice production or in Burkina Faso. So of course you need some margin for every context, but we try to have a single, like some single standard definitions to be able to easily aggregate. And then we also contribute to another aggregation level through the GIZ or even BMZ portfolio level, where it's not exactly the same. So, but we indicators and definitions. But due to the bunch of information that we've got and being able to dig deep dive somehow, because of all the data in one place, I could set some standard rules on aggregating with doing some subtraction and some 80% of this, and based on that information, etc. So that TolaData is also calculating with the data in there and aggregating, not just making sums, but having other rules to also be able to feed into this kind of portfolio indicators that are not 100% in line with ours. So it is possible, yeah, if you have if you leave a bit of margin of error.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that, Lucas. And at that, we are just at time, I believe. So I would just like to say there's a lot more questions we could have gone through. But a massive thank you to all of the GIZ RYE team. So Inacio, Lucas, Armando, Frank, for taking the time to speak with us today. If you have any additional questions, you can reach out to us at info@toladata.com. And if you're interested in learning more about this specific case study, feel free to check out the case study that is linked on screen now. But thank you so much for your time. And yeah, I wish you all a great rest of the day. So thank you, Lucas. Thank you, Inacio.
Muito obrigado.
Thank you for the opportunity. See you next time.
See you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.